And that's one of those, well, we haven't got to the, I'll come back to that. We all have the need to have meaning and purpose in our lives. A couple of quotes to illustrate that. One comes from another theologian, Friedrich Nietzsche, who says, "He who has a why to live can endure anyhow." If we can understand why bad things happen to us, to our family, to our friends, even if it doesn't make sense to anybody else, if we can make sense of it, then it's helped us cope with the difficulty of the circumstances. Even though, again, it may be unrealistic or outrageous, when we can make sense out of things and we feel like there's a purpose or a reason, then it helps us cope with difficult situations. Another quote comes from a contemporary theologian named William Barclay, who says there are two great days in a person's life: the day we're born and the day we discover why. So that day that you're born is a wonderful and great day for your mom and dad, for our moms and dads. A lot of joy, a lot of meaning, a lot of excitement, thinking about the future. But for each one of us, there's come a point in time, and maybe that point in time is what has gotten you here to nursing school, because you figured out, this is what I was born to do. I am meant to be a nurse. This is my life's calling. This is what will give me meaning. This is purposeful activity that will give me fulfillment in my life. When you have that experience, when that light comes on, that becomes a huge motivating factor in our lives. And it helps us get through difficult times, because we feel like, yeah, this is hard, but I know this is what I'm supposed to be doing, and it's worth it to me. All the energy, all the effort, all the trial, all the studying, all the staying up late at night, it's worth it, because in the end, I know this is what I'm supposed to be doing. So we've got 5 universal spiritual needs: transcendence, love and relationship, hope, forgiveness, hope, and then meaning and purpose. Yes, ma'am.
I didn't catch that last scripture off of meaning and purpose. It was like John.
Ooh, there you go. So these needs, these 5 universal needs that we have, cause us and our patients to react to our illnesses in certain ways. So let me jump forward here a couple of slides, go get through that, to some information from a researcher named Lapowski, I think it's, or Lapewski, excuse me. And there are 7 ways that he says people typically respond to illness or to terminal diagnoses. That we typically respond this way out of these universal needs that we have. Let me go through these a little kind of quickly here. The first is that he says we will typically see them as a challenge. This would be like a man who's told he has or he has prostate cancer. And his reaction is, okay, doctor, what do I got to do? Do I need to start exercising more? Do I need to exercise less? Do I need to change my diet? What about chemotherapy? What about radiation? Do I need to have surgery? You tell me what I need to do, and I'll do it, because I can beat this. It's a challenge, and it's something that I can overcome. Secondly, some of us will respond by seeing our illness or disease as the enemy. This would be like a woman who's told she has stage 1 breast cancer. And her course of treatment, she opts to have a double mastectomy. That's a pretty radical choice for a very treatable cancer. Breast cancer has got high success rates. And stage 1, that's you're catching at the very beginning. And her perspective is, cancer is the enemy. I don't want it in me anywhere, so just cut it all out, because it needs to be eradicated. A third way that we will view our illnesses and diseases is as punishment. You might want to star this, underline it, or circle it to draw attention to it for yourself later. Because of these responses, this is the one that is connected back to biblical times. We can look at the Christian scriptures and see how God related in that cycle of history that I just mentioned to his people. And there are many stories where God struck people with leprosy, God struck people dead, God put disease and famine in the life of communities when his people disobeyed him. And so that teaching has carried on, especially in the Christian faith and all the different branches of the Christian faith, to a point where there are still people today who will say, yeah, I got cancer and God's getting me because I've not lived a good life. Or, yeah, I was in that car accident and I almost died, but it's because I've not been a good person. And I know that I'm being punished for whatever they think in their life they've done wrong. A fourth way that we view our illnesses is as weakness. And these are people who are seen as weak just because they're sick. Chronically ill people. People who chronically ill is the best description. But they can be viewed as weak individuals because they're always sick. They're always complaining about being sick. That they're just never healthy. And you ask them how they're doing, it's just not a good day. And it's never a good day because they're always sick. And so they are viewed as weak people because every time you see them, they're always complaining and they're just always sick. A fifth way that we might view our illness is as a relief. For some of you, your life schedule, your lives right now are so packed and so full. You get up early in the morning, you've got to get your kids off to school, and then you go to school and you spend all day here, and then you get done, you go pick up your kids, you get them home, get them dinner, you get them bathed, you get them their homework, and then you sit and put them in bed, and then you sit down, you do your homework and study, and you're up till midnight or 1 o'clock, and then you get back up at 5 o'clock the next morning, and you start over, and you do that over and over, 5, 6, 7 days a week. And it's just like it never ends. And if you get sick, it's a relief because at least you have a reason to sleep. So some of us see our illnesses as a relief, a way to get us to slow down. Some of us also view illness as a strategy. Unfortunately, there are people who have grown up from critical illnesses as children, and they've learned some negative coping strategies that they have employed throughout their whole lives, and it's worked for them, so they've just kept doing it. Unfortunately, some children, if they have like leukemia and other serious conditions, when they're sick and in the hospital, as parents, we don't want our kids to suffer, so yeah, we'll give you ice cream if you want it, anytime you want it. Yeah, you're not feeling good? Okay, let me get you another game for your Game Boy. Whatever you want. And they learn that when I'm sick, when I don't feel good, Mom and Dad give me things. And so it becomes a coping strategy, and they learn that, and it works, and they use it throughout their whole lives. If they make it into adulthood, unfortunately, it still is a coping strategy, and they use their health, they use their condition to get out of things they don't want to do or to get things that they want. Lastly, some of us will see our illnesses as of some value. Meaning, what doesn't kill us makes us stronger. So these universal spiritual needs are at play when we have critical illnesses, terminal diagnosis, other kinds of diseases. And these are 7 common reactions that are born out of those universal needs. I want to make one more shift here as we get to the end of the lecture and talk about now philosophies of care. Okay? Let me just put them all up here at once. I want you to write this down while I talk through these. So we've got these universal needs that are motivating us to improve, to do better, to feel good, to be all right. And in healthcare, that has manifested itself in 2 different ways of providing care. You have the philosophy of curing and you have the philosophy of healing. Under the philosophy of curing, the approach is that we can cure people without healing them. A good example is a non-compliant diabetic who gets a toenail infected, doesn't take care of it. Next thing you know, their foot is turned black and got gangrene in it. Well, we can amputate their foot and cure the infection, but they still have diabetes. Under this philosophy, curing may or may not be possible. Like I mentioned a minute ago, there are some cancers that are very curable, high success rates. Breast cancer, prostate cancer, two good examples. But there are also some cancers that we don't know about until it's too late. We can't detect them until they get to stage 4. Pancreatic cancer is one of them. Uterine cancer or ovarian cancer is another. But they're not high success rates. So curing is not always possible. Under this philosophy of curing, it takes a usual or predicted path. Heart medicine is a really good example of this. Because if you start to have any symptoms of a heart attack, we should all know what to do. Take an aspirin and call 911. Get to the hospital. When you get there, they're already going to have all your vital signs. They took that in the ambulance ride. And then they're going to start you through a series of tests. And they do them one at a time to determine, okay, is this what's going on? Nope, let's try this other one. Let's do this. You might eventually end up having bypass surgery. Depending on your overall state of health, after bypass surgery, you could be discharged on the 3rd day and sent home. We have discovered how to take care of cardiac care to the point that it's almost like an assembly line. Come in, this is what we're going to do, treat you, you're good to go, send you home, and people are doing very well. Huge survival rates, success rates in the heart medicine. And under this philosophy, when we do not cure our patients and death occurs, we consider that as healthcare providers a personal failure. Failure to cure our patients is perceived by us as, death of our patients is perceived by us as a personal and professional failure. On the opposite side is the philosophy of healing. And this philosophy says that sometimes healing occurs without curing. Sometimes spots on scans just go away, and nobody knows why, and you can't explain it. Sometimes people have symptoms, and you watch them, and there's a diagnosis, and they just recover, and they get healed. Because under this philosophy, healing is always possible. Because healing is more than just physical symptoms. Healing is emotional, healing is spiritual, healing is relational, healing is mental, psychological. Healing occurs on a lot of different levels. And therefore, it is always possible. It is creative and predictable. Creative and unpredictable. Because under the philosophy of healing, we don't really know how things happen and why people get better when it doesn't appear that they should get better. But the philosophy of healing says, we'll try just about anything. We'll try different ways. We'll try unconventional methods. Because healing needs to occur, and it's more than just physical healing. That is a big part of it. But when death occurs under this philosophy, it's not seen as failure. It is seen as the ultimate way of being healed. Because death is not the worst thing that can happen to us. Death is an opportunity for us to be free or liberated from the physical body that binds us. And some people, they get to a point in life where their physical bodies are so frail, their spirits are strong. They have a strong will to live, but their physical bodies just can't hold them up any longer. And death really is a welcomed event because it frees their spirit to live on in the next life. So these are two philosophies. You will see these in the clinical setting. And I challenge you to be looking for that. When you start doing your clinical rotations and you interact with doctors and other nurses, be paying attention. Because you're going to see some of them with this attitude. We got to get this this patient fixed and out of here. You're going to see some of them with a healing attitude. We need to care for, we need to be compassionate with our patients. We need to spend time, we need to talk with them. And I want to challenge you to figure out which of these philosophies best matches your own personal idea about providing care. Which side of the philosophical spectrum are you going to fall on when it comes to direct patient care? All right, last little slide, and this is, it's information that's on the test, and so I'm just giving you a test question right here. There are different diseases that manifest those universal spiritual needs, and if I had time, I would go through them more thoroughly, but it's talking about cancer, congestive heart failure, children's pediatric illnesses, and chronic illnesses. All of those categories of disease, there are things about that condition that cause people to react either with fear, hope, or control. So, for testing purposes, be sure you get that in your notes. That when we're talking about universal spiritual needs, in particular as it relates to specific diagnoses, people usually respond out of the need, they respond out of fear, out of hope, or out of a need to control their circumstances and their environment. All right, we need to take a break, so come back in 10 minutes, and when you do, I'm going to have a DVD ready and hopefully a listening guide at your seats. So, 10 very quick minutes. What?